Hello, dear listener. Welcome back to the 111 Tips for Learning a Language. This is episode 100, a very special milestone. If you are here, it means you have been on this path for a while. And on a long path, it's natural to sometimes stop and ask, why? Why am I doing this? What is this all for? Today, we explore an answer to that question through the profound lens of logotherapy. Developed by psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl, logotherapy is built on the principle that our primary drive in life is not pleasure, but the discovery and pursuit of what we find meaningful. When applied to language learning, logotherapy doesn't just give us techniques, it gives us a why that can sustain us through plateaus, frustration, and doubt. It tells us that the struggles of learning are not obstacles to be avoided, but instead potential sources of deep significance. Let's explore Frankl's 3 core principles and see how they breathe new life into our language practice. Principle 1. The freedom of will. You always have a choice. Frankl wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." Even in the depths of suffering, he observed that people could choose their response. The language learning parallel. You cannot always choose your circumstances. You might have limited time, a bad memory for vocabulary, or a difficult accent to make you comprehensible to native speakers. But logotherapy argues you always have the freedom to choose your attitude toward this struggle. The practice. When you hit a wall, pause and ask, what is my attitude right now toward this difficulty? Is it serving me? What other attitude could I choose? You can choose to either see a plateau as a sign of failure, or you can choose to see it as a necessary phase of consolidation. This shift is not positive thinking. It's attitudinal valuing. This means that your attitude values. You find meaning by consciously choosing your perspective. The evidence. First, we need to know about what the attributional style is. Also known as explanatory style, it is the pervasive way individuals explain the causes of positive and negative events in their life, defined by 3 dimensions. First, internal versus external. Secondly, stable versus unstable. And lastly, global versus specific. Research on attributional style shows that learners who view challenges as temporary and specific, for example, this grammar is so hard right now, rather than permanent or pervasive, for example, I'm just bad at languages, demonstrate greater persistence and resilience. As we all know, persistence and resilience are key predictors of long-term success. Principle 2. The will to meaning. Find your deeper why. The central tenet of logotherapy is that we are driven by a will to meaning. Frankl believed that the lack of meaning or existential vacuum is a primary source of depression and apathy. The language learning parallel. Why are you really learning this language? To be fluent is a vague goal, but to read my grandmother's old letters, to connect with my heritage, to understand the lyrics of the music that saved me, or to read philosophical texts in their original language. Now, these are meaningful missions. They provide a powerful emotional feel that pure obligation cannot. The practice. Conduct a meaningful audit. Write down your deepest, most personal reason for learning. Keep this reason visible. When motivation wanes, return to it. This is your primary motivator. This is your North Star. The evidence. Studies in self-determination theory by Deci and Ryan robustly support this. They found that intrinsic motivation, which is doing something for its inherent satisfaction, is far more sustainable than extrinsic motivation, which is doing something for external rewards like grades or praise. Connecting your language learning to deeply held personal values is the ultimate form of intrinsic motivation. Principle 3. The meaning of life. Meaning is found in every moment. Frankl argued that meaning isn't some vague, distant goal. It can be found in every moment, particularly in suffering. He called this the defiant power of the human spirit. The language learning parallel. The meaning isn't just in the final goal of fluency. The meaning is embedded in the struggle to fluency itself. The frustration of a forgotten word is an opportunity to practice patience. The embarrassment of a mispronunciation is an opportunity to practice humility and courage. The act of persevering day after day is inherently meaningful. It is the act of becoming a more disciplined, resilient person. The practice. Reframe your struggles. Instead of saying, I have to struggle with this language, try, I get the opportunity to struggle with this language. In this struggle, I am building my patience and determination. This is what Frankl termed tragic optimism. This is the ability to remain hopeful in the face of tragedy and to find meaning in suffering. The evidence. Research on post-traumatic growth shows that individuals who can find meaning in adversity often experience personal growth that surpasses their pre-trauma state. While language learning is not trauma, the principle applies. Finding meaning in difficulty transforms it from a depleting experience into a building one. Bringing it all together, the language of your life. Logotherapy teaches us that learning a language is more than an academic exercise. It is a microcosm of the human search for meaning. Every time you choose to study when you're tired, you are exercising your freedom of will. Every time you connect your studies to a deeply personal goal, you are fulfilling your will to meaning. And every time you find dignity in the struggle, you are discovering the meaning of the moment. Your language journey is not just about adding a skill to your resume. It is about the person you become along the way, the more patient, courageous, and meaning-driven individual that emerges from the daily practice of showing up. So, the next time you sit down to study, ask not, how many words will I learn today? But rather, What meaning will I find in today's practice? The answer to that question, dear listener, is what will carry you not just to fluency, but to a more richer, a more purposeful life. Until our next conversation, may you find meaning in every word. Thank you for being here for 100 episodes. Namaste.